Good evening, dear listeners, and welcome to a chilling bonus episode of Strange Darkness Radio, your gateway to the unseen and the unknown. As shadows lengthen and night descends, welcome to a realm where reality blurs and the impossible becomes plausible. This is Strange Darkness Radio. What lurks in the spaces between what we know and what we fear? Tonight, we'll peel back the veil on secrets long buried. Prepare yourselves for a journey into the unknown, where ghostly whispers echo and creatures of legend may lurk just out of sight. Steel your nerves and open your mind as we venture into the strange darkness. The boundary between reality and nightmare awaits. Let's see who's tonight's guest host of the bonus episode. Or if Bobby will be guiding us through the darkness alone. You're listening to Strange Darkness Radio.
We get it almost every night. And when that moon gets big and bright, it's a supernatural delight. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight.
Welcome back to another episode of Strange Darkness Radio. This is the bonus episode. The host tonight is Kyler. Kyler, what is happening, man? What's going on?
Man, nothing much, man. You know, like you said, we back at it, man. We took the long road around, but we back.
I like that. Okay, tonight is going to be a very interesting show. Usually we'll talk about what we've been doing or what's been going on, but I want to get straight away into this because I have a very, very special guest on tonight's show. And so I'm going to just go right into it, let Benson introduce him, and we shall hit the ground running. Here we go.
From the shadows of the Navajo Reservation to the savannas of Botswana, tonight's guest has traversed realms both earthly and beyond. A radio host since 1993, Ed DonGilli weaves his faith in the Word of God with the whispers of the unknown, a flawed seeker of truth in the supernatural. Whether sipping Guinness or pondering life's mysteries, this introverted extrovert finds meaning in the journey, not the destination. His wife calls him the most interesting man alive. But we'll let you decide. Welcome to Strange Darkness Radio's bonus episode, where the line between light and darkness blurs. Here's Ed DonGilli, ready to unravel the unseen, one sunset at a time.
Ed, welcome to Strange Darkness Radio. What is happening?
Thank you. I think me and Benson's going to be throwing down because I think he has a tad of mockery in his voice, man.
Oh, he always does. He's from the other side.
We're going to be throwing down at some point, I think.
Don't forget, he's from the other side. He is not from this side. He's from the other side of the veil. So
I have to be on my home turf then.
He may know more about you than what you really think. So that's the thing you got to be mindful of.
I hear you. Yeah.
So hey, Ed. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your radio career and all that good stuff, just so the audience can get to know a little bit more about you.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I know scheduling, it took us a while to get to this point, but I'm glad it finally worked out. And
for sure.
And we're here. Yeah, I started my radio. I've done numerous radio programs over the years. I got my start in Telluride, Colorado on KOTO.
Okay.
That was my first taste of radio back in '93. I co-hosted a music show with a buddy of mine called Music for the Extreme. Mm-hmm. Through the years, and some different opportunities that I did, and then most recently, over the past 10 years, I've did a radio show on KMUZ out of Salem, Oregon. And most recently would have been, I did 2 shows on KGLP out of Gallup, New Mexico. One was a music show, and one was Radio Res, it was called, which I actually did from the home studio on the reservation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was a show where I interviewed Native American, whether they be artists or even Bigfoot hunters, anything like positive and, interesting. And so I would do that, and it was fantastic. So
yeah. Okay, well, we definitely want to know about the reservation and just all your travels too, because especially when you've gone to some interesting places that hold supernatural potential and extraordinary heritage and history. So, start wherever you want. Your first travels to even get to that point. What were you doing? You were on a retreat, a religious retreat. What was it? What was going on?
Well, we got to the res back in 2012. And my wife was and still is a medical professional and nurse, so that's how we wound up down there.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, it just popped into our heads, like, hey, what about this? Mm-hmm. Although in all fairness, years before this, I had wanted us to move to Arizona. There's something about the Southwest that has always just turned me on. It is just a fantastic place. But this opportunity came up to move to the res, and so that's what we did, and we wound up living there for a little over 6 years. And to this day, they say, you can leave the res, but the res doesn't leave you. And I think if you're open to that, it's absolutely true. Because to this day, I miss it. I miss the area. I miss the culture, the peoples.
So you guys were actually living on the reservations, not driving into it, not
correct.
Correct. Commuting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like?
It was, for me, and again, I speak on my experience. Obviously, other people will have different experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I've actually known people who have come up there to work, got there, and 45 minutes later left for lunch, said, I can't do this.
Oh.
Because it is pretty secluded. I mean,
okay, so it wasn't that something supernatural happened. It was just the environment. And
there is a lot of supernatural that happens.
For them to want to leave like that, though.
Some people just can't handle that seclusion because you are tucked out there. I mean, the Navajo reservation, Navajo land, is 27,000 square miles. That's about the size of West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. The biggest reservation in the country. And so you're pretty secluded. The nearest city would be Albuquerque, New Mexico, at least where we were. We were on the New Mexico-Arizona border in the right next, and we were in Fort Defiance, which is right next to the Navajo capital of Window Rock.
Yeah.
So we were right on that New Mexico-Arizona border. So for us, the nearest actual city would have been Albuquerque, New Mexico, which would have been about a 3-hour drive. Phoenix, heading the other way, was like 4.5 hours.
Okay.
There were some smaller towns like Gallup, New Mexico. It had everything kind of that you would need. You had your Walmart, you had your, fast food places, that sort of thing. But you're secluded. It's not like you can say, I want to go to a concert or the theater.
Yeah.
And you're just like, no, you have to basically plan a whole weekend to go to Albuquerque or Phoenix. So some people, and it's not a supernat, some people just can't handle that seclusion.
Yeah.
I myself, for the most part, I enjoyed it, though there were times where sometimes you just need to get away and go experience some things. And so there were moments where I would, get pretty depressed and just have to okay, we need to go to Phoenix for 2-3 days and just go and let loose, experience some things. But I always always appreciated coming back,
Mm-hmm.
making that drive back to the res, being able to see stars, the Milky Way, being able to sense that whole supernatural, paranormal, the beauty of the land.
Yeah, that's what I was
type
going
thing.
to ask also, because some people say just being on the land itself has that power that you feel different than you feel in any other area or place.
You do. And of all the places we have lived, that place is the most, it's living.
Yeah.
And the Bible talks about creation being alive.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I would just stick my hand on the rocks and you could just feel.
Yeah.
You could feel it just being alive in the energy, and your spirit takes on a whole different atmosphere when you're on there, because you can just feel it. You can feel it. And so that was a big thing for me, something I really appreciated.
I actually,
Go ahead.
I actually had to wonder, because hearing that makes me think though. So like you mentioned, so would you say had that feeling, would it be something because the way that area is and how you said how secluded and everything compared to, I mean, not to make it just sound silly, but let's say I'll walk outside and I touch a rock, touch a tree outside.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah, no, you're exactly right, because there is a difference between, I can walk out here. I mean, we've been here for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And not to speak negatively, this is I feel nothing, hardly any connection to this area.
This area.
Yeah. And a big thing with the res, you're right, because it is so secluded. I think it's a combination of the culture, the Dene people, the Navajo, they're called the Dene. It's part of their ancestry, and I think that coupled with the fact that it is so secluded, so I like to say it's less polluted by human ignorance, so to speak. There's room, if you're open to it, to actually feel. You have less distraction, and I think that's a big thing. Is you're not as distracted with the everyday. They said you could just walk out your door, look up, and again, you can see the Milky
magical.
Way. It is something that, and I'm blessed because we actually got to live there, not just go for a couple days. So we actually got to experience on different levels what it actually means, what it's like to live there. And to be able to walk out your door and it just be so quiet.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to walk out your door and look up at the sky and see the Milky Way. I think the last statistics data that was taken is, I think they said 80% of the population in America has never, ever seen the Milky Way.
Wow.
And I find that tragically sad.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a place where there's not light pollution, because pretty much
there's no
artificial light. I mean, you'll have some, but it's not like you drive up the street and
there's just
street lights and
place.
it's not that. It's dark. And so the moon, the stars, all of it just is just beautiful. It's beautiful. And so there's a lot of openness and ability and a willingness to be able to experience some of the supernatural, the paranormal, but also just the beauty of God's creation.
Exactly. No, definitely.
And having to be able to feel that. And some people just aren't ready to do it, because you do.
Yeah, and some people unfortunately aren't connected that way also.
And you are kind of sometimes forced to examine yourself and think about the bigger things in life, and some people aren't ready to face up to that. But if you are, this is a place to do it.
That is very true. Let's go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get into any supernatural things that happened on what Ed calls the res. We'll be back.
To become a part of Strange Darkness Radio, don't hesitate to contact us via email at strangedarknessradio@gmail.com or through our hotline at 916-741-3032. Share your story within a 3-minute message window. If your narrative requires more time, Feel free to call again until your tale is fully told. We'll seamlessly compile it. Anticipation builds as we look forward to your engaging emails and calls. Stay tuned to discover our upcoming show, emailer or caller. Now let's see who we have on tonight's show.
All right, so Ed, let's get into any supernatural things that you were either told on the res or that you experienced. You can start wherever you want to.
Okay. Well, I will start with, because a lot of people, most people have questions about the SWs, the skinwalkers. But I am going to start by saying that is...
I'm surprised you actually said the word.
And that's the furthest I'm going to go.
And
that is the furthest I'm going to go, because my wife has asked me, she said, that's the one thing, please don't speak about that.
Yeah.
And so I will honor her and not do that.
And remember, you're on record too. So
yes.
She's going to hear this.
Yeah. So that is the one topic I will not talk about.
Yes,
I think
sure.
if people want more information on that, there's plenty that they can
Oh yeah, we
go
have a couple episodes that are very intriguing about the skinwalker.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it because I do a show here. But definitely listen to Zach's experience, and you guys tell me what you think. But go ahead, Ed. Sorry.
Yeah, but no, that's just the one thing that I won't speak about in So, but other than that, just the Navajo culture in itself. There's obviously a lot of
and
stories.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to have to. As I say, I don't want to interrupt you.
But you do anyhow.
I know people may hear this, and they're going to ask you about your last name. They're going to be like, he's so respectful of Native American culture. And I know Native Americans don't like to talk about SW. I'll say that. And so let them know what culture you are, so that way they understand how respectful you are being to Native American culture, and all cultures for that matter.
I'm actually from Italian descent with a little bit of Belgian on my grandmother's side, but it's always been the Italian descent that kind of, because being the last name of DonGilli,
Yeah.
Nobody says, is that Belgian? No, it's Italian. But I think it comes mostly from, like our grandmother was German and did not allow my grandfather to speak Italian or nothing Italian. And I get it, because, when they came over, the way conditions were, they were afraid that, they wouldn't be able to get jobs if being Italian. There was even stories about my grandma hitting my grandfather. He'd come home drunk and speaking Italian, and she'd hit him with a frying pan. Yeah. And it was just a no, none of that. And so I think some of it, it's sad that Italian heritage didn't get passed down in my family. Yeah. And I even feel bad for our daughter, because I wasn't able to pass that down to her. And so I think even from an early age, different cultures were always important to me. I always enjoyed reading about different cultures and being a poor kid growing up in Pittsburgh, thinking I'm never going to be able to experience that. But, thank God I have been able to. And the Dene, the Navajo people on the res is one of the ones that I got to experience. And from the first time we drove onto the res, you could just sense there was something different. There's something you just respect about a culture who can stick to their stories, stick to their beliefs, stick to their life. I mean, whether it be the sheep, which is hugely important. Sheep and livestock is hugely important to the Navajo people. And they would share stories with us, and you sense how important it was to them. Yeah. So I think automatically, if you are any kind of curious, respectful human being, you show them the respect, and you have the respect for that culture. And it hit it hit me immediately. It was frustrating at times, mind you, because some of the things, I mean, like any culture that I've been into, you know, when you first experience, you're like, my gosh, this is so frustrating. Why don't you just do it this way? It'll be a lot easier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you get over that. And like I said, along that journey, you learn to appreciate.
Yes. And be respectful.
Yep. Appreciate, be respectful, and actually start enjoying that slower pace.
Exactly.
That slow pace. And so living on the res afforded me that opportunity.
That's amazing.
As far as the supernatural paranormal goes, I'll start one of the stories that I had a friend who was a medicine man. He was actually co-host of my radio show for down there as well. But he shared a story because I love turquoise.
Yeah.
And turquoise is so
As
important.
he's in the studio donning turquoise.
Again, it's a respectful thing to the Navajo people because it's so important to them. And I love it. And the medicine man shared with me a story. It's called the hero twins in the Navajo culture. And obviously any Navajo person would know what I'm talking about. And there's some different variations I've heard on it, but the base foundation is the same, you know, about a set of twins being born to their father, who was the sun god, and their mother, I want to say changing woman. Forgive me if I got that wrong. But anyhow, they were born to, and their task was to fight the monsters that was tormenting their people. And so, and so they went out and, destroyed these monsters and saved the Navajo people from being tormented from them. And that's the short. If you want to read the longer version, people can find it pretty easily online or in different books. And, but one of the things he shared with me was there's these set of 2 hills outside of Shiprock, New Mexico, which is on the res again. And we used to drive that way going up to like Durango or Farmington. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he said, part of it is, he says, when you drive by, you're supposed to hold your hand up that's wearing turquoise, and it lets them know that you know where you come from. And it's a sort of protection from, because one of the variations is that the twins put the monsters into these 2 big mountains, these hills. Mm-hmm. And so when you drive by, he said, hold up your turquoise and it'll protect you from the monsters, or it'll, let them know that you know where you come from.
Yeah. And
so that's part of the turquoise for me. I just love it. And I think, again, it's a respectful thing. It's important to them. And, but it is a beautiful. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's part of radio. I'm holding up some of my jewelry and nobody can see it except who's here in the studio.
So they can see it. They see it in spirit. That's why they see it in spirit.
And so, but yeah, so that was one of the stories from Navajo culture that sticks out to me, that I always just found it interesting. One of the episodes, I'll say, that I experienced, and I should say my wife experienced along with a friend of ours who was in the car. We were going to, there's a town in New Mexico called Pie Town.
Okay.
And if there's a place called Pie Town, I'm going to get pie. And that's what was happening. And it's not, again, nice. It's not like it was right next. It's like a 2.5 hour journey each way, but pie. So we left the Navajo reservation, and to get there, it's way out there.
Yeah. And
you have to go through the Zuni reservation as well. And so we were driving out there. We left during the day because we were also doubling it with a trip to the VLA, which is the very large array, the big radio, what do you call them? Radio, not telescopes.
Radio towers?
No, they're the big radar. Yeah, the big radio dishes. It's actually where that movie Contact was filmed with Jodie Foster. Yeah. So we were going there as well because it was like a couple hours past Pie Town. So we were like, well, let's go there as well. Yeah. So we stopped at Pie Town, had pie, went to the VLA.
Wait, what kind of pie did you have?
Cherry and apple. I'm a traditionalist.
You can have that any place.
And was it good though? That's the thing. Like,
you can. But can you have pie in Pie Town?
Oh wow!
Yeah. No,
but did it live up to the name though? Also,
it lived up to it. It did. It was very good. So yeah, and I'm a traditionalist when it comes with stuff like that. I have to try the basic to see what it, what it's all about. And so we did our day. We went there, got pie, was bringing pie back as well. Went to the VLA. On the way back, and you got to remember, it's very dark. I can't stress this enough. There's no lighting in most of the places.
Wow.
And so it's just your headlights.
You would think, though, because of the location, that they would have a lot of street lighting for the town to be lit at night in the evening.
Well, Pie Town is just, I wouldn't even say it's a block. It's just like 3 restaurants and, they did have they have a post office.
Oh, okay.
They do have a post office.
That makes it a town.
Yes. So, in Pie Town, there's some lights, but between Pie Town and our home on the Navajo Res, when you're out there, you're out there. There's just not a lot of light. So we're driving back, and I'd say it would be about 10:30 at night. So it's dark. It's really dark.
I hope you're moving around with a Winchester, just for the record. Sorry for people who don't like those types of safety devices.
At times. So it was myself, my wife, our daughter was with us as well, and a friend of ours. And we're driving back, and we're out in the middle of nowhere coming back, and all of a sudden, my wife and daughter and the friend next to me sees all these green lights, and they are going in just very odd directions.
Now, is this in the sky or in the distance? Okay.
In the sky. And there was numerous ones of them, and they were going odd directions. And I remember driving, and they're yelling, "Look at this! Look at this! Look at this!" But I'm driving, and again, it's pitch black. I can't, and I'm not stopping because I have pie. And my theory is, if they were the aliens, they were coming after my pie, and there was no way that was going to happen.
That's funny.
And so they saw these things. And, I wish I had stopped. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I still haven't made up my mind. I still haven't, because there is nobody around.
Well, exactly. Especially, did you want to be abducted or,
No, I just wanted my pie and to go home.
Yeah,
I would have even offered up our friend if they would have just let us go. So I left the pie.
What was that, Kyler? What'd you say real quick?
Oh, yeah, no, I said you'd have lost the pie and everything else.
Yeah. It reminds me of the line from The Godfather, leave the gun, take the cannoli. Leave the people, take the pie.
Wow.
And so that was an episode but the UFOs, one of the things that struck me about living there, it wasn't an odd. People didn't look at it like, oh my gosh, what is this?
Because it was natural to them.
It is
because they were used to seeing those things.
So natural. So it struck me like, well, these people aren't at all surprised by this. And there's a Navajo ceremony that they do. It's usually takes place. It takes place in the winter. Sometimes I guess in the fall. It's called a Yebache festival, but there's characters that they dress up, and they're supposed to be like the star people.
Yeah.
So it's not an odd situation. There was many times. There was one time a friend of our daughter's came over to the house for breakfast, and the first thing he says when he walks in, he says, "Oh, did you see the UFO hovering over Window Rock last night?" I was like, no, I didn't. I wasn't looking outside. He says, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was there for quite a while. Me and my grandpa just sat out on the porch and watched it. You drive into the res coming up from Gallup, and there's a wall on a mural, and it has aliens on it and star things. So it's not an unusual event or occurrence anytime something like this happens.
That is extremely interesting. So, being that you did the show on the res, did you do callers to where people called into the show, or did you always just have guests on?
I always just had guests on because I wanted to. Usually it was a 2-hour show. We would also do like Native American music.
Yeah.
But I'd have guests on, and no, we went in to do the call-ins because I just like to hear them and allow them to share their stories. My co-host and I would ask questions, and obviously with one of my co-hosts being Medicine Man, he was able to, ask questions that I wouldn't have even thought about.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was being able to do that was very rewarding for me, and hopefully for the guests as well. I interviewed one guest who was a Bigfoot hunter. I don't want to know, not a Bigfoot hunter, a searcher for Bigfoot. And he lived.
What's the difference?
Well, a hunter means you're hunting something too.
They're all called hunters, man. And we're definitely going to get into the whole Bigfoot thing because I have something I want you to listen to from Joe Rogan and get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
And we'll definitely do that. Let's go ahead and take another break, and then we'll get into Bigfoot. Even though we still haven't touched the surface on the res, because I do want to go into more of that.
Yeah, we haven't touched on the howlers.
Exactly. And we'll probably get to that before we do the Bigfoot, because Joe is going to be speaking on the show. So you guys got to check that out, see how that works.
Sounds good.
Exactly. So, yes, we shall be right back.
Have you encountered the unexplainable? Strange Darkness Radio invites you to share your paranormal tales, ghostly whispers, UFO sightings, or cryptid encounters via SpeakPipe. No phone calls needed. Just click the link in our show notes, available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Record your story and we'll feature it on air. Your voice could be the next chilling highlight. SpeakPipe works on any device, delivering messages straight to our inbox. Don't let your eerie experience fade. Share it now and join the conversation where the unknown meets the airwaves.
All right. Okay, let's get into some more res stories, Ed.
Yeah, there's a town. Well, they're called chapters.
Okay.
Think of counties. How we have counties. The Navajo reservation has chapters.
Mm-hmm.
I forget how many chapters there are, but I think there's quite a lot. There's quite a lot of chapters.
Yeah.
And one of the chapters, when we'd leave where we lived at on the res, we'd have to drive down just a 2-lane highway. Again, I don't want to say out in nowhere, because everything there is out in nowhere, pretty much the way we think about it, but very secluded. And we'd have to take this highway to get down to Interstate 40 to head down to Phoenix or Flagstaff, points southwest, that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a chapter there called Lupton. And one day we was talking about it, and one of my acquaintances says, "Oh, have you heard the Lupton howler yet when you drive through there?"
Ooh.
And I was like, "Not that I'm aware of."
Yeah.
And you got to fix it. For whatever reason, at least to me, it seemed every time, and usually when we drive back, it was nighttime. But every time we drive back, it was just one of these places that was always foggy.
Mm-hmm.
So you drive back again.
And you mean just that chapter was just the only one that was foggy?
Well, for as many times as yeah. It's like you just drive through this area and it was just foggy. You'd get off I-40.
Yeah.
And the res starts as soon as you get off, and that's where this chapter is. And for whatever reason, this highway was always just foggy to me. And again, there's no street lights or anything, so it's just your headlights. And yeah, there's supposedly a howler that lives up in
What
the
is
rock
a
there.
howler?
I'm still trying to get the answer to that.
Is it's a beast, half man? Is it a shapeshifter? Is it something, a wolf?
It's not a shapeshifter from what I understood.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically an animal type man.
Okay.
And it just howls almost like if you think of a werewolf.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking, like a hybrid of some sort.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I think for purposes, if you just think of a werewolf, and it's called a howler. But apparently there's a few different places on the res that has these howlers. And the one in Lupton would be up on the rocks.
Yeah.
And you just hear him or her howl. And because this is one place I would never stop. I'm telling you.
Don't break down.
That was my thought every time we drove back. No kidding. This is one place I do not want to break down.
Go through an oil change every time before you go that direction.
Oh, I'd always make sure you have fuel because, it's miles and miles between gas stations. And so, it was one of those, but it was always foggy on that highway.
And you drove that same highway for some years then?
6 years. 6 years. And I'm telling you.
Never came across it.
It just always.
Have you ever heard the howls by any chance?
I have heard howls. I just chalk them up to, okay, well, that's a coyote.
Yeah.
So, I have heard howls
Mm-hmm.
on the res. There's no doubt about that. You hear things and see things you never think you'll see or hear.
Okay, let's go back to the see things. Don't just pass by that.
Yeah, there's so many stories that people have.
Mm-hmm.
About seeing things and hearing things. There was when there's a road called Sawmill Hill.
Okay.
This was just like right outside of our housing area.
That sounds creepy as hell, and it sounds like a movie.
And there supposedly is what I can't talk about.
Oh, okay.
But Sawmill Hill was a place that I would go to, and I'd always take people who came to visit us up Sawmill Hill.
Yeah.
Because there's places you could pull off.
Mm-hmm.
No lighting. There's no lighting. And you could just get out, look up, and see. It's almost like you were in a snow globe type thing.
Oh, wow.
Where the horizon just seemed to turn, and all these just millions seemingly of stars, the Milky Way. It was all just visible.
Mm-hmm.
It was all just visible from up there.
Sounds beautiful.
It is. It is absolutely beautiful.
I do got to wonder though, because just a second ago you did say you were like, you think that the thing that shall not be named was like out there, and then right after that you were like, so I took the homie up there, and was like, and we went up there the dead of night.
You're right. Just like, it's never by myself.
Oh, I see. Because I was thinking like in my mind, I'm visualizing.
It's one of those risk reward things. So you have to say, okay, is the risk worth the reward of what you're going to see up here?
I mean, but if you see that up there, I don't.
If you see that, I always left my door open.
Oh, okay.
True story. I always left my door open to the vehicles. So if I had to hop back in, I didn't have to mess around. And I was always paranoid about the door automatically locking behind me and I wouldn't be able to get back in.
Oh, yeah. Horror movies, you learn.
But it was beautiful. So Sawmill Hill, up in Sawmill, there was many things. Driving back from Albuquerque one night, I was by myself. And we were speaking earlier about green lights that I actually saw green lights coming down. And again, even I-40, it's an interstate, but there's really nothing between Albuquerque and Gallup. You'll have a couple small towns.
Yeah.
So to be able to, again, and you realize after you've been there a while, just like the Navajo people, it doesn't surprise you anymore.
You become used to it.
Yeah. You just become used to it. It's not something out of the ordinary. I guess it would be normal instead of paranormal, maybe.
Exactly.
So being able to to be able to see that, again, coupled with everything that you hear, that, just people that who've had experiences on the rest. It's just not a surprising. Now, mind you, I don't go looking for these things. I do not.
Which is totally understandable.
Yeah, and if I did, I probably would have had many more experiences. I just don't go looking for these things. I figure, you know what, you see enough, you feel enough. And a lot of times for me, it was the feeling.
Yeah. And you are aware, though, the potential of things occurring based upon your environment and your location, correct?
Oh, yeah. And then there's certain things, like the Navajo culture has certain taboos that you don't do.
Yeah.
One of them is you don't whistle at night, because they believe if you whistle at night, it will let the evil ones know where you are.
Kind of like whistling in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't whistle. In fact, I don't even know if they whistle at all, but I know it's not whistling. You can't whistle at night. You can't comb your hair at night.
Oh.
There's some other taboo. Never stand in the doorway. Don't block an exit entrance type thing. Yeah. So, but the whistling at night, I would whistle. It's just one of my things that I would, not on purpose. It's just
I do that just like humming. You know,
because I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't go walking at night outside of our house, because in our housing complex you had some lighting, because we lived right next to the hospital.
Yeah.
But once you got out of there, and so I would never go walking at night.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Oh no, I would never go walking at night outside the housing complex. In the housing complex, I mean, I'd walk 2-3 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was just very relaxing to me. But outside, I would not leave that housing complex at night. And of course, walking around that, I mean, I just find myself whistling.
Yeah.
And even to this day, when I whistle, especially at night, my wife tells me stop. She tells me to stop. She has a story. Maybe at some point she'll come on. I don't know. But she has a story that she was told firsthand about Dogman on the res. And she says it is, to this day, is the scariest story she has ever been told.
Wow.
She hasn't even told me.
Stay tuned, people.
Yeah, she hasn't even told me.
You said she didn't tell you. Oh.
Nope. She won't even. She's much more, I don't want to say respectful. She's much more leery.
I was going to say cautious.
Yeah, cautious.
Yeah.
Excellent word. She's much more cautious than I am. I just sometimes don't think about it.
Yeah.
So I'll whistle at night.
You're a renegade. There you go. You're a renegade.
Not on purpose. I'll say the SW word and no. You can't say that. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. So she's much more cautious than I am about it, but she hasn't even told me this story. So maybe we'll coax her on at some point if she's willing to share.
Yeah, I don't know. Y'all been together for a while. If she ain't even told you, then I don't know if she's.
I don't ask about it either. I don't ask about it. But yeah, she's much more cautious than I am about these things. But yeah, the taboos. I think then the Navajos have a belief: if you don't talk about anything negative, otherwise it comes true. Yeah, which makes it difficult in a hospital setting when you need to know what's going on.
Oh, for sure.
Medically with someone.
Yeah.
And so that's also why at the hospital, you not only have, current doctors, Western medicine doctors, you also have at least 2 traditional medicine men assigned to that hospital so that the Navajo people can go to both, and then they'll go to the medicine man first, and the medicine man will talk to the physician. Yeah. But it's a teamwork type thing, again, respecting of the culture and the beliefs of the local population. And so that makes it difficult. So even when you want to talk about something like we're talking about now, it can be difficult because they believe if you speak it, it will come into existence.
Yeah, so they don't.
Yeah, they won't even. I think there's a term, if I pronounce called. Yia'a Indene, and it basically is translated our term just because.
Oh, okay.
Like, why don't we talk just because?
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, growing up, you always heard, but don't go looking for trouble, or you're gonna find it.
Why I don't go looking for demons, my friend. I don't need to go looking.
Oh yeah,
I don't need to go
especially for
looking.
demons. You don't know. Nobody need to look for demons.
Yeah, so
Be a fool for that.
Yeah, so a lot of taboos, a lot of stories, a lot of traditional. The whole thing, it was just really interesting and rewarding. I was invited to go to a Yebache ceremony, but
And what is that?
It's a ceremony for like healing and like I said, it's supposed to represent spiritual star people.
Yeah.
In my understanding, I can't remember. We have it actually in our house. We have a huge painting of the Yebache Festival. It was done by a Navajo artist, Key Lee, and it took second place at the intertribal ceremony, which they hold every year in Gallup. That's where like 100 tribes from throughout the country in Mexico, Canada, all come together.
Yeah.
It's a week-long celebration, but they have a huge art show. And we was looking to buy, because I love art.
Mm-hmm.
I would surround myself with art and dogs. That's
Nice.
and Guinness. And I would be perfectly content.
Yes.
But it's a huge art. So we went down and we were looking to purchase a piece of art. And we walked by this. And there was something, because it's kind of dark. It's like a dark painting, but it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. And we walked by it and we're like, oh my gosh. And we walked around a bit more, but our attention always came back to this Yebache painting.
Yeah.
And so we walked back to it and there was other people staring at it. And we're like, okay, if we're doing this, we got to go do it now.
Yeah.
And we did. So we went up to the front, said, we'll paint that one. So they gave us the number, wrote the receipt thing out, stuck the thing on. So, but as soon as we were up there were three couples behind us wanting to buy the same painting. Yeah. An interesting story, not paranormal or supernatural, but just a really cool story. After we bought it, we walked back and was standing there staring at it and talking how wonderful it is, how happy we were to have it. Mm-hmm. And there was a gentleman standing next to us looking at it as well. And he says, did you buy this painting? And we says, yeah, we just bought it. He introduced us, he shook our hand. He says, I'm Key Lee. I'm the artist of this painting.
Oh, wow.
And he said, thank you for buying this because I needed to get it out of my house. I've been painting it for 2 years. And every time I just didn't feel like it was complete.
Yeah.
And he said, I didn't want to take it back to my house because it's pretty big. He says it takes up a lot of room. But so that's hanging in our house now.
And you never asked him why and what was going on with that, unfinished product in his mind that he thought wasn't right?
Well, it could have been part of it, but again, it's
supernatural.
It could have been. But in the Navajo culture, even there's always like the Navajo rugs, which they are very well known for, and we have a couple of them as well hanging up. They always leave it unfinished. There's always a piece unfinished, and I want to say correctly because life continues, life changes. If that's
okay,
so they always leave a piece that is undone, and usually by the naked eye, you can't even tell where it is.
Yeah.
But if you look closely and you know kind of what you're looking for, you can see where the part is that is unfinished.
Yeah, it's oftentimes the artists, they'll know it like this. I remember hearing that even being up at the college, and it was like, you had teachers who would have their professors who would literally have to like take people's stuff away because they'll just keep going. Even though they won't even recognize that it's done because as the artist, you'll always find something.
Oh yeah, I do that with music. So
and even as an artist, as a writer, I always found it difficult how to let something go. And if I'm Key Lee, I'm like, man, this has been part of me for 2 years.
Yeah.
How do I just let this go?
But just me personally, I would have probed like, how did you come up with this concept? What was the thought of intertwining what you were seeing with his reality with what he was seeing on canvas? Just as my crazy mind would go to.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight. Yeah, it would have been say, hey, let's go have a coffee and you can tell me all about this.
Exactly. Because sometimes you don't ever meet the artist of a painting, especially something that
and it was
beautiful.
You'll have to come see it sometime because it's. I mean, we have other Navajo art. We have a couple sand paintings, Navajo rugs. We have Navajo pottery.
Oh, nice.
All this stuff. We actually, we have a piece of, not from the Navajo, but from, I forget what Pacific Northwest tribe it is. But my wife found it for me, gave it to me for Christmas. I love ravens.
Okay.
Which, by the way,
that's interesting. He likes ravens.
Which, by the way, if you have never seen if you think you've seen a large raven,
I would not
go to the res.
No, I don't like ravens.
Oh.
And I don't like.
I love ravens.
Because they just seem, there's something supernatural with ravens, and just they're always around.
Yeah, they're
watching.
Intelligent. Yep,
he said that's why he doesn't go to Baltimore.
Yeah.
By the way, he doesn't
Damn,
like the
I
Ravens.
love actually the ravens.
He's lying.
Ravens,
Team.
crows, and magpies are my 3 favorite birds.
Yeah.
But the ravens on the res are just.
I wouldn't say I don't like them. I just say they're creepy. In the sense of it's always, they just have that.
They look like they always know something.
Yeah, exactly. Or like that they're just watching you.
Well, they are. They're very intelligent. What they say, they have memories up to like 5 years. They can replicate mannerisms from people. They can
stalk
fantastic.
you,
but they are huge.
They can do a lot of
absolutely
things.
huge down on the res. But to finish up, I had a chance to go to the Yebiche Festival, and I know it sounds weird, but it's held in the winter, and it gets, people think Arizona, oh my gosh, it's always warm. The Navajo Reservoir, we were 7,000 feet in altitude.
Yeah.
So we had the seasons, and in wintertime, it was cold.
Oh, I can imagine.
And when you go to a Yebiche Festival, it's always held overnight. And once you're there, it'd be very disrespectful to leave.
Yeah.
And so you really have to think, do I want to stand out in this cold for 8 hours? And I can't.
Wow.
And I didn't want to be rude, but I did get to go to one of the Canalda ceremonies, which is for young ladies when they become a woman.
Oh, okay.
There's a whole ceremony over days that you do that. So I got to participate in that, which was really interesting. So it was. There's always new things to discover down there. Even like the shoe game that they play, which is like a betting game.
Yeah.
Obviously, I lost when I played. Fair enough.
They saw you coming my way.
Yeah, they did. But there's this piece of art that from one of the Pacific Northwest tribes that my wife got me for Christmas, and it's done by a local artist, and he was known to always put faces somewhere in his carvings.
Oh, okay.
And she got me a carving. It's of a raven, and on the side of this raven, you see this face of Bigfoot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little carving, and I have it hanging up. We have it hanging up next to some other.
Yeah, you got to take a picture. Show it to me. So actually, that's a great segue into Bigfoot. So, with your thoughts that I know you have on Bigfoot, I'm going to play you a couple of segments from Joe Rogan show talking about Bigfoot and his idea and thoughts on Bigfoot. So let's get into that. Here we go.
You were telling me you were a Bigfoot guy?
Big Bigfoot guy.
Tell me about this.
Here's the problem.
Where you grew up in an area.
Yeah.
You're in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
That's Bigfoot country.
That is. I think that's the only reason I'm so into it.
Yeah.
Also, here's the thing you got to know about talking about me. It's not ever funny. And it's something I like so much that it ends up me giving you the same argument.
You're listening
a billion
to
times.
Strange Darkness Radio.
Came over the Asian plane. It's a bipedal hominid. It's just, and then at the end, and every one of my friends have experienced it. Harlan Williams just experienced it when I was on his podcast. Anytime I talk about Bigfoot, it ends up with me just going, please, Joe, can you just say it's maybe a possibility? Like, that's what it always ends up being.
Yeah.
You said it's. I remember you one time going, "There's nothing out there." Yeah, didn't you say that about Bigfoot?
Hunters don't see it. That's why I don't believe in it.
Some hunters do.
No, not many.
People that see it are usually loggers, hunters, natives, people that are out in the woods.
There's another problem. Another problem is dusk. You see things at dusk or at dawn. It's very confusing. Bears walk on two legs all the time. I have personally watched bears walk on two legs, and if I didn't know any better, and if it was a dark environment, like it was dusk, you barely can see, I would think it's Bigfoot.
Right.
Yeah. But I do think Bigfoot existed.
So, what are your thoughts on Bigfoot? You heard what Joe, and I'm not sure who he's talking to. I believe it's some guest that he has on his particular episode. But do you believe in Bigfoot?
Yes, that'll be the straight answer. Yes. I am kind of when somebody uses the whole bear thing, I just kind of want to shake my head and say, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Because you can tell a difference between a Bigfoot stroll and a bear walking on two legs.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
The rhythm should be different.
Yeah, the rhythm, the gait.
Well, the
all
rhythm,
of
the
that.
gait.
Exactly.
What I will kind of say, which I've heard before, the whole thing of the optical issue when, like you mentioned, like dusk. So a certain time of day, I've heard that before a couple of times. That's supposed to be a real thing. And
I can see standing in a silhouette, one thing, but movement and walking, and let alone what do you call their footprints, basically, that they catch are not bare footprint. I mean,
yeah, because who is Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum out of Idaho? That's a respectable, and he collects these. Yeah, I don't buy the bear thing at all. I know on the Navajos have. I mean, they have different opinions as well. Some of them believe that Bigfoot is this interdimensional traveling ancestor or alien. Some believe he's, earthly, but is a spiritual messenger.
Yeah.
Myself, I don't want to ascribe attributes to something just because we don't understand it. So I'm not a big believer in the interdimensionary traveler type thing. I believe that Bigfoot is a flesh and blood
being.
Yeah.
And
I
some form of humanoid.
Yes, I use the term human. I don't even use the term
because you're
animal.
Not saying animal.
Yep. And so I believe, and again, to me, there is no book that is more supernatural or paranormal than the Bible, than God's word.
Yeah.
And not that we can explain everything, but there's certain theories, even that you can, again, I don't want to.
Wait, are you saying that Bigfoot might be talked about in the Bible?
It could be, but I am not
Stay
saying
tuned, people,
for sure.
I will get
I'm not
that out of
saying
Ed.
for sure. It's theories out there, and I don't want to add to God's word, and I don't want to take it away. That's not what I want to do. It's just an interesting.
But you can infer.
Yes,
and so there's a few interesting finds, and I mean, when you think about Nephilim and different things,
and
like
that's
those,
one of the theories, the Nephilim, because the scripture says there was giants before and after.
Yeah, it doesn't give a depiction of what the giants look like. It just states.
No, let me throw this at you, 'cause there's a theory out there that Bigfoot may be a descendant of Esau. And in Genesis 25:25, it says, starting in verse 24, when her time came to give birth, there were indeed twins in her womb. Verse 25, the first one came out red looking, covered with hair like a fur coat, and they named him Esau. So there's a theory out there that Bigfoot is a descendant of Esau, with Esau being all hairy like a fur coat.
Yeah.
So that's one of the theories. Another one is Cain, where Cain was cursed to walk the earth, alone.
Yeah.
And so that's another theory. The Nephilim is another theory. So those are three theories out of the Bible that some people can point to and say.
A lot of people forget about Cain, just for the record. I just want to say, because he's still walking the earth, and no one does stories or anything on that possibility.
Yeah. Well, there is, there's actually a Christian legend. It's called the Wandering Jew, or the eternal Jew. And it speaks of a man who was cursed to live forever until the second coming of Christ.
Yes.
Because he taunted Jesus on the way to his crucifixion on the cross. He's sometimes called Cardophilus or Aphosaurus. So there is a legend out there that does talk about it. Again, I'm not ascribing that Bigfoot is in the Bible.
Yeah.
Please don't. It's just, again, to me, the Bible is the most supernatural book there is. And if you're...
And he doesn't mean that in a bad way, people.
Yes.
He means it in a good way.
Yes.
Meaning it's real, and there are things that we cannot put our finger on, but yet it is in Scripture that these things occurred and happened.
Yeah, and people are so willing to believe. Like I believe in demons.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. The Bible talks about them quite often. I'm just not a believer in going to look for them. And the Bible says, don't go looking for them. You know, it's not our realm.
Yeah.
I'm in the realm of the living. I don't need to be messing around with that realm of the dead.
Realm of the dead.
Or just the realm of the demons.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, because there's like, there's the dead, and then there's demons.
Well, but here's
be.
the thing. Some people experience supernatural things, whether they're ghosts or demons, but they are infested in homes or attachments on a particular entity. But let's hear more from Joe on Bigfoot.
Yeah.
There's some insane number of Native American words for Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
Sasquatch is just one of them. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of Native American words for this one animal that's fake, but all the other words they have are for real animals. They don't have a bunch of dragons. They don't have like mythical creatures in Native American mythology, but they do have this one giant man thing that definitely existed.
At some point.
At 100%, Gigantopithecus was a real animal. It was 8 to 10 feet tall, bipedal hominid. It was a huge gorilla-looking primate that died off somewhere around 100,000 years ago, but they don't know really for sure.
100,000?
Yeah, but they don't know for sure. The thing about it is, it's like, if you only find fossils from 100,000 years ago, you could assume that that this animal at least lived then. But you don't know when it went extinct.
Right.
You might find some new fossil like 10 years from now. They might find some new site. And wait a minute, these are 20,000 years old, or these are 30,000 years old, or these are 50,000 years old. But either way, anatomically identical human beings have been around for 500,000 plus years, maybe even more. So, or similar human beings. So then we definitely interacted with them.
Yeah.
Or they were around when we were around.
I think they're still around. I think there's hundreds, maybe thousands of them. That's what I believe. I think they're in caves or something. Or maybe it's...
You know what the problem with that is?
What?
They're too big. The amount of food that they would need to eat,
Yeah.
you'd have to be grazing all day long. See, if you're Bigfoot,
Posted in the Journal of Zoology this month.
if it's there, could it be a bear?
They're saying it's black bear, American black bear.
Yeah, American black
You're
bear
listening
stands up.
to
But is it even
Strange
like kids
Darkness
know the difference
Radio.
between a monkey and a bear?
No. First of all, let me tell you something. If you're in the woods and you're in a heightened state because you're looking around, you don't know what's out there. It's all thick woods. It's weird. Woods are weird.
Yeah.
And you see something, you could trick your brain.
So is it people tricking their brain in the sense of misrepresenting what they're actually seeing?
Well, first of all, I subscribe to what Charlie Daniels said in Legend of Woolly Swamp. There's things out there in the middle of them woods make a strong man die from fright.
Well, it's also a thing I was wondering while they were talking about that is, have they actually been able I'm trying to think of like what in the world forest it is, but I'm trying to remember. I heard them say they haven't went through like everything in some of these forests.
Listen, they say you can go through the Cascade Mountains of Oregon and Washington, and you can get lost so easily and not be found. People, people don't understand that, and I think they're so quick to dismiss something just because they've not experienced it or they've not seen it. Down on the reservation, there is there's the Navajo Rangers, and these are federally trained at federal facilities, and they started out as being like park rangers for the Navajo Nation back in 1957. But they took on other like law enforcement, guarding dignitaries, many other things. But one of the things that they do is there's a section of them called the Paranormal Rangers.
Wow.
And they are the ones that go out and investigate all the supernatural, paranormal reports on the Navajo reservation. So that would include your SWs, witchcraft, UFOs, and it would include Bigfoot, which they do a lot of, because there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings down there.
And I just want to say quickly on the record that those must be some extremely brave people, because I'm not signing up for that job to go. You told me I'm chasing down an SW, I'm going home.
I'm not doing a ride along, man. I'll pass on the ride along.
So those are some strong individuals.
But there's actually a group of these federally trained rangers that investigate these things on the Navajo reservation.
Yeah.
Actually, our neighbor, when we lived there, was in the Bigfoot community. He was pretty well known, being a Bigfoot searcher. And he actually, there was, I think, over the course of the show, Finding Bigfoot, there was 2 episodes they did down on the Navajo res, and he was with them both times. I can't remember what his name is. And again, I interviewed another Bigfoot searcher on my program down there. Again, it's something that's normal.
Yeah.
It's normal. And just because we don't experience it doesn't mean it's not there. The whole bear thing, I don't get it. I don't get the comparison.
I do understand the comparison with it. I understand the comparison off of, like I'll say for myself, it's been times I thought I saw something when I didn't. So I can understand the comparison of it, but I don't fully subscribe to just completely discrediting something.
Right. And I think that's it, is I can understand. Listen, sometimes you do see a bear and you go out, you look at the footprints, that's a bear. But I'm saying the overall making the determination that Bigfoot, oh no, people are just seeing a bear.
Yeah. A lot of people put those 2 terms together because it's not normal for you to come upon a bear carcass, right? And bears are everywhere, and you don't find a lot of bear skeletons for whatever the reason is. And then so they chalk that up to, you've never found, bones from Bigfoot or from any type of animal or humanoid that size.
I don't subscribe, and I don't believe there's as many Bigfoot as some would. I don't believe there's 10,000 Bigfoot roaming around. I think the number is much, much, much smaller. Some of these places, like you hear of a Bigfoot walking along a riverbed outside of Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can think of many more places to be able to hide yourself if you're looking to hide. And I think that's part of it, when people say, oh, well, we've never discovered the bones. How come much more people don't see?
It's like digging through the forest. Like, that's one thing I have to wonder. Are they going and digging through the ground anywhere? Like,
and these Bigfoot have been around way longer than we have. That's why I don't want to subscribe the attribute of, oh, they're interdimensional, so they can just appear and disappear. Maybe they are just.
I do think that
you can. And
that's what I believe. Yeah. I believe it's something that is supernatural, and like an old wise guide or the surveyors of the planet, and they check in, or they do what they come for whatever reason, whatever time is right, and they need to do whatever it is that they do, and then they're gone when they're done.
And you may be absolutely right in that. At least you're not sitting there saying, well, it's a bear.
Oh yeah,
I get
it's
that.
Definitely not a bear.
I take the other end, and it's okay, because I'm not somebody who has to have somebody agree with me on Bigfoot. I think that's part of the beauty of any mystery of any suit. We can, have different theories, and I think it's more just a flesh and blood.
Yeah.
That roams around, is a race of being.
Yeah, but the thing that Joe was talking about that I kind of agree with is feeding. Like, to be that size, You're not living on berries and fruits. So what are you hunting or eating to, as a Bigfoot group, or whether it's a family, whether there's only 100 in existence, right? You still would have to find the remains of whatever they're eating, in the forest, just as a hunter coming upon.
They find deer carcasses all the time with legs broken in certain ways that looks like they were just ripped or torn apart. I believe there's not nearly as many as some believe.
But the one thing with you making that point, the one thing I would say that I've never seen or heard of are footprints of Bigfoot with any type of carcass or any type of mammal, carcass of them eating or feeding or anything like that. It's always their footprints being found in, around lakes for water or just different things. And a lot of the people who do search for Bigfoot, they believe that they're creatures who eat off of, vegetarians opposed to, eating meat.
I don't know if we'll ever know that,
I was gonna say, how do you basically we're assuming their eating habit and anything else off of
No, not assuming the part of when they're show their tracks, and their tracks aren't with any type of carcasses or dead animals.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like the way they would just be like, it can't exist because we're like, what's the proof of what it's eating? It would have to eat so and so. It has to eat this. But then it's like, well, why are we assuming that it has to eat those different things just because what its size?
Well, it's all an assumption.
And I would also counter that by saying, again, we don't understand the vastness of even just taking the Cascade Mountains. So even though a Bigfoot may come down to a lake for water, doesn't mean that that's where he's going to make his kill. His kill may be it could 10 miles up into the middle of the Cascades. Yeah, they can only do it in caves
or in their group. So, I understand that point. But yeah, so it's all to me, extremely interesting.
Yeah, because the interdimensional thing, because people say, oh, well, Bigfoots have a tendency to show up when there's UFO sightings, that sort of thing. Again, I don't.
Okay, and as you say that, let's play this.
I will say that that's the most frustrating part about the Bigfoot subject is you got guys who really no, I think an ape could, a pod of apes could live out here and this thing. And so you'll start to, guys like me will be like, yeah, this makes good sense. And then they'll get a Native American to talk about it. And he'll be like, it's the magic man of the woods. And you're like, no. And they're like, he disappears. He flies. He can stop the rain. And you're like, this is, gosh dang it. We were making real good ground here, making arguments for it to be an ape.
I think the Native Americans are right. I think that's what it is.
Some sort of paranormal woods thing?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think it's listen, if let's imagine that states of consciousness can interface with other things that are around us all the time that we don't necessarily see. Now, we know that's true if you take psychedelics, and we know that psychedelics are produced in the brain. I can imagine a moment where you are in such a state that you could see something that you would not be able to see under normal conditions. It's not outside the realm of possibility. I'm not married to it, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. Now, if that is what we're seeing with UFOs, if what we're seeing is our future, if what we're seeing with those beings is the eventual shape that human beings will take, as evolution progresses, we become these genderless, little spindly things
big brains,
with giant heads. Flying spaceships with our minds. That kind of makes sense to me. If that makes sense, why wouldn't I be able to also see what we used to be, or what we could have been, or what other things used to live with us? And maybe it's almost like a ghost, almost like a memory that you can access of a different timeline, a different dimension, where this thing does exist. And that's why it's so elusive and it comes and goes, because it's not a real material thing. It's a construct of the human psyche. But these people that are seeing it, they might even literally be seeing footprints. It might literally leave footprints. It might exist for brief moments.
Makes sense. Passing in and out of this dimension kind of thing.
There's so many wacky stories about it. So then you have to apply the wacky stories to human psychology and say, okay, people are in a heightened state. They're in the woods. They're alone. They're nervous.
Yeah.
There's cats out there and fucking bears. So you're kind of freaking out already. So
Right.
you're in this like weird mind state already where it seems like more things are possible out there because there's no one to help you.
Right.
There's no city. There's no hospital.
Can't call the cops on a Bigfoot.
You got no fucking cell phone signal, and you're out there alone. Like, there's so many possibilities.
Scary.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And that, to me, makes sense. Like, if there's a mindset that can be achieved, it's a mind state that be achieved where you interact with things that aren't there all the time, like UFOs.
Right.
That would be when it would happen.
Right.
That is true. Could it be a UFO situation? Could it be something that is, projected even either by UFOs? Could it be a watcher for UFOs? All the possibilities are out there.
Then you're. So with that theory, then are you saying, or people who back that theory up, that there's a 8-9 foot Bigfoot piloting a UFO through the dimensions?
No, not in that sense. In that sense, it's the one that, is the, I want to say the enforcer, or the
like
one that is the protector or the guardian of the earth, but yet they're the hierarchy. Just like you have African Americans, you have Native Americans, you have European Americans, and that's just another offshoot of a humanoid or, whatever that they're put on the planet. Now, if you come encounter with a small little big-headed alien, you're, if anything, you're going to be scared of what you're seeing in the sense of, oh, don't abduct me or whatever, right? But if you come encounter with a Bigfoot, you're like, oh shit, don't move or run. So you're not going to be, you're going to be able to,
the whole don't abduct me because I'm taking my pie home, man. Exactly. This is not a good time for me, man.
I might not want to be anally probed. Also.
Well, you talk about the watchers.
I don't recommend that.
You talk about the watchers. We see in the book of Daniel, again, going to the Bible, Daniel has this vision. And he says, as I was lying in my bed, I also saw in the visions of my mind a watcher, a holy one, coming down from heaven. He called out loudly, cut down the tree and chop off its branches, strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the animals flee from under it and the birds from its branches. So again, the Bible talks about a watcher, or a holy. Now, whether that's Bigfoot.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I just think that my belief is that it is a flesh and blood. I don't want to put all this interdimensional stuff on it. I see where people get that from. I really
because they're
do.
just saying if it's possible for aliens, and then you have to think anything is possible. You have to suspend. You've already suspended disbelief in the sense of aliens and spacecrafts and interdimensional beings or beings from another universe or planet, right? So, why is it so hard for people to disbelieve that Bigfoot is created of the earth, to where if the earth needs something, it sends out Bigfoot or this entity that we call Bigfoot to help whatever environment or area that it needs to do on, for that time. Why isn't that
I just
possible?
think it's always here.
Yeah.
I think it's just always here. It lives here. And there's some of the Alaskan tribes believe that it's just always been there. I think it's such that they have such a connection to Bigfoot. The Seminole Indians believe that Bigfoot is at least, again, I'm just generalizing here because obviously people have their own train of thoughts.
Yeah.
But the Seminole tribe believes that Bigfoot is a flesh and blood, and you just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I'm gonna definitely leave him alone. I don't need to mess
I
with
don't
this.
know, man.
I love Kyler coming right on time, because speaking of that, Joe actually has a joke that he tells. Before you get that, I'm going to play this joke because I want to rip off of what Kyler just said. This is for the brothers.
Here's what you don't find when you go looking for Bigfoot. Black people. You're more likely to find Bigfoot than you are black people looking for Bigfoot.
Not out there.
It's a bunch of unfuckable white guys out camping. That's like
That is the thing.
It's a community of people that want to believe something that there's zero evidence for, and they're fucking locked in.
Yeah, they're hitting a tree with a stick, going like, "We're gonna wait for a knockback," and it's different Bigfoot researchers hitting a different tree, talking back to them.
Yeah, it's like if you go to public land elk hunting, there's a bunch of people elk calling. You think, I heard an elk. It's a dude.
It's another guy. Elk, two men doing elk calls.
Exactly, to each other.
Across the ridge.
That literally happens.
I bet.
It does, 100%.
I got to make sure I keep that for the show. Let me do that. Just the beginning once more.
Here's what you don't find when you go looking for Bigfoot. Black people.
I love that.
Yeah, well, he ain't lying. He ain't lying about that. That's one thing we definitely agree on. Because boy, you asked me what I'm not going to look for.
But it also goes to the paranormal and my show. You know, I am a black host. Kyler is an African American host.
Can I say I'm the token white guy here then?
I guess. No, you're not even. He's Italian, so you can't even say that.
We call it spicy mayo. There we go.
But
I will agree with in the last segment that Joe Rogan was saying about being out in the forest, the heightened sense of awareness of that's true.
Yeah.
Because, and again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I don't think that should be used as a reason to debunk.
Oh,
I actually
sure.
think that should be used as a reason to is proving.
Yeah.
Because again, being on the res.
I grew up on Bigfoot. I grew up believing Bigfoot. I still believe Bigfoot exists. I just don't know how he exists. I'm forever morphing that only because I used to go hunting with my dad and my uncle, and I was in the forest listening to every tree crack, break, branch, falling, off the tree for what reason, I don't know, whether it was some squirrel or animal jumping on it. And listening to the forest at night, and while we were out hunting deer, and it is an interesting environment to be in, to where any sound will, instantly put your sentence in a heightened state. And I don't know if it's because it's so weird, with humans, because we forget one big thing: we are animals. We are animals. Sorry to tell you, people. Your clothes look nice. The cars you drive are amazing. The light and electronics we have are incredible. But at the end of the day, you're a damn animal. And a lot of those senses and receptors that we have when you're in that environment, some of that shit kicks in.
See, but we used as human beings, to have those senses.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Immensely. And that brings there's a book I've told you about. It's the best book on Bigfoot I have ever read. Am I allowed to say what the book is?
Yeah.
It's called Where Bigfoot Walks, and it's by Robert Michael Pyle. It was written back in the mid-90s.
Okay.
And it's so interesting because he tackles it like, okay, not just is or isn't there a Bigfoot?
Yeah.
But he asks the question of why are we so intrigued by it? Why does it even matter to us? And one of the things he brought forth that I really appreciated was he lays out how we were once like that. We were able to live in the woods. We were able to survive. And now we've lost that instinct with all development and
the pineal gland shrinking.
Yeah. And so he says a lot of us are interested in because we miss that part of ourselves.
Yeah.
To be able to survive, to live in a world, to have all of these distractions, this daily grind disappear from our lives.
Yeah.
And I loved how he brought that out. And it's true, man. I mean, if I met a Bigfoot,
He would probably tear you limb from limb.
Nah. I say, what up?
Ed would, you would hear Ed's last scream.
First of all, again, I'm not being out in them woods by myself. So,
well, there was 2 Bigfoot watchers that are very popular. I'm sorry I can't remember their names in doing this research for the show, but they went missing and have yet to be found.
right.
They might have been found. I mean, not to be, not to the kind, I don't
mean,
want to be
Bigfoot might have
mean
found
and everything else. But yeah, they might have been found by something.
But
Something
is
probably
this the
found
one from a couple, like around Christmas time up in Oregon? The
I believe
2,
so.
they went out Bigfoot hunting and they wound up dead. And they didn't come. They found them.
No, I don't think these guys have
Oh, this
been
is a different one
located.
then.
Yeah, because I don't even want to pretend like they found Bigfoot. But I told you, go out there looking for something, and something's gonna find you, and it might not be the thing you're looking for.
Hence, don't be going looking for
Goddamn
demons.
tree guardian or
Don't
something
be
and
going
reach down
looking
and
for
grab
them
them.
demons, man.
Like,
Now,
there's
okay,
certain
when you
places
say,
don't go
since
to.
a lot of our listeners are into the supernatural, they do ghost hunting. Have I technically gone on a ghost hunt? I guess.
Yeah.
It's been,
I remember.
old
I saw the
Sacramento,
video.
Auburn, to where they were just pretty much talking about locations and the environment and what people have caught and everything else. I didn't feel anything from those environments. And I know we are going to do a show, hopefully coming soon, on those locations that we talked about with Marley. Marley will be back on the show. But I'm definitely not looking for demons, but I am looking for
They
ghosts.
may be looking for you, Bobby.
But I am, I do want to check out haunted places and see if I pick up anything or if anything is actually happening. Because again, I had an experience. You guys can hear that on my first episode, when I was 10 or 11. And this subject and experience has always haunted me to where I wanted to know what that was. And just that experience has always been on my mind and sent me down this rabbit hole that I've been going on. And to let people know, again, they're not going crazy. They saw what they saw. They experienced what they experienced. And I don't know what I saw. If it was a demon, my life has been fine.
Mm-hmm.
If I saw this particular creature, was I meant to see this particular thing? Was I meant to go down this rabbit hole all these years and decades later? I'm not sure, but I just find it interesting. And I think there are things that are trying to communicate, and not so much in a demonic or a bad way, just to, loved ones, whether they want to say goodbye, because we've had people on the show who've had that experience. And it was just people in passing, and they, for whatever reason, that energy was still around. And why is it there, and what is next?
Yeah. And again, don't get me wrong. I don't deny that these things exist, not by any means. People do have these experiences. You can look at locations like Gettysburg, which is one of the most haunted places.
Yes. Ask me how many times I've been to Gettysburg.
None.
Pretty much. I've been out to Gettysburg.
That goes to...
Here's what you don't find when you go looking for Bigfoot. Black people.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you that's what I mean. Like, matter of fact, you was talking about them missing folks. I remember we was talking about them missing people. They went out there and they went to look for Bigfoot, and I told you somebody else might have found them. And you remember them creatures I was telling you about?
Oh yeah,
they'll hide behind.
Yeah, we haven't done a show on that, so we definitely got to do a show
and these
on
things,
the hide behind.
Yeah, well,
because you went out there looking for Bigfoot, and you found something. There's something found you, and you might have saw it.
Well, I think
them senses didn't kick in right.
What do you mean something found me? What are you talking about?
Oh, I think something found it. It was probably one of them things.
Found who?
Found them people who was missing.
Oh, you're talking about them. Oh, okay. That was either Bigfoot or some animal. A bear found them.
Yeah, Bigfoot finally found what was left.
See, but that brings up what is the character of Bigfoot, and I'm a big believer also that just like us,
Bigfoot is nice.
You'll have,
he's going.
Some of them are. Some of them will just rip you apart if they get the chance. I always say the ones in Northern California here, they're just mean.
Yeah, I know there was a story about a lady who was abducted by Bigfoot when she was in the woods, and he, kept her as a wife, and then she was eventually able to escape. That was her story anyways.
Yeah, well, there's that, was it back in the 20s or 30s. The gentleman, I think it was up in the Canadian Rockies, that got abducted. He said he was abducted by a family of Bigfoot, and they kept him, captive for, I want to say at least weeks. But he finally was and apparently, a lot of things of his story kind of were like, can't be explained.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's different characteristics.
It almost sounds like the hills have eyes. It sound like, some just kidding that, oh, you're going to come over here and you're going to sit here. We're not going to eat you or nothing, but we just finna have you hang out. We just going to sit here and be big with feet. And it's like,
he said big with feet.
It's like,
Kyler don't go up any hills either, man.
Oh man.
That's funny.
You should have saw me up there in Barstow. They run that hill. I said, I'm probably not going to be running that hill.
Yeah, because also with the Bigfoot, I think, is it the poem, is it Beowulf, where we were talking about the theories as well, but in Beowulf, I think it says something about being a descendant of Cain. It's been a long time since I've read Beowulf.
Mention that?
I think I'm going to have to look. It's been so long since
I remember seeing things with succubus. Yeah, I haven't read that since high school.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've read that. But yeah, I agree with the whole being out in the forest and thing, but I think that's meant to be. I think that's really deep down in us. Like I said, I'm a big one. Like, I'll go on the edge of the forest.
So you wouldn't go Bigfoot hunting?
Ooh, if there was Guinness and I could like hang out on,
you would be able to function.
I might do something like that, but I'm not going by myself, and I'm not going with just one or two other, because they can separate you, man.
Yeah.
And so maybe overall, I'll be the driver. I'll be the designated driver.
There you go.
But it would be interesting. I wouldn't discount that, but it would definitely be interesting to go on some. But I just think, and your senses are heightened. Like I said, I think when you're out in the woods and in the forest, I mean, that's where people go there, is to, get a more sense of self.
And heightened is also not to be confused with, like in overdrive or just completely broken.
Yeah. And just because,
like what he was saying when Rogan and them were talking about it, he was like, oh yeah, they would have saw something, but their senses, it's like, it's not overdrive, it's not overdriven.
But also what makes us think that we would see something? I mean, chances are you're not seeing anything.
Yeah.
Why would a Bigfoot reveal itself to you in the first place? If I'm a Bigfoot, I'm like, I've seen what y'all have done. I don't want anything to do with you, man.
Yeah, it'd be more the right place, right time, meaning you're, deep in the woods, hunting, whatever, or trapping, or, then you happen to come across it, or it happens to come across you.
Or saw
but, and maybe has the capabilities to camouflage. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, there are so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Or just a simple fact not a fact, but the thing is, it lives there. That's its domain. It can see you on the way in there before you even know it's there. Like I'm working a job I have. I'm doing patrols one time. They're like, yeah, we need to go check out this building and this. And it's like the dead of night. Mm-hmm. First thing I told them was, I'm not going to that building.
Yeah, and
so,
plus
what do you mean? Yeah. They're like, we heard alarms. I'm like, but I'm not. I'm like, whoever's in there, they already know. Yeah. That I'm on the way here, which means that they'll see me before I see them.
This is truly for Kyler.
Here's what you don't find when you go looking for Bigfoot: black people.
I'm saying,
and you can't discount the sense of smell too. That
Bigfoot for sure. They say,
I mean, he can probably smell from miles away.
They say it's a crazy funk, not even like a skunk. It's a different type of smell.
Yeah, but he or she would be able to smell a human coming from well off in the distance.
Oh, no, for sure.
At work, I can smell certain people before they come in the door and know that they're coming.
He didn't say
so and so's here.
He didn't say that for reals to people. Did he just say that?
Hey, I hope I'm not on that list.
That's funny.
No, but yeah, it's so. Yeah, I just the whole excuse or theory that people's senses are heightened.
Yeah,
that's correct. Like I said, even being out on the res, man, that land is alive, and you are so less distracted in the energy that comes off of that land, off those rocks. Yeah, your sight your senses are heightened and you're more aware of what's going on around you, but that doesn't mean you're seeing
delusional.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
By no means does it mean. It means I think we were resorting back to what we used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And what many of us long to be.
Even in emergency situations, that's what I mean when he brought that up about, their senses are high and that's why they're seeing things. And it's like, well, I got chased by a dog. In my mind didn't like fake like it was a dog there. That was a real dog. And when I ran away from it, my senses were heightened. Yeah. I wasn't seeing like a whole bunch of other stuff.
It wasn't a cat.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was a real thing. And I didn't see a bunch of other things around me. Well, everything I saw was what fence am I going to jump over? What car can I jump on top? Like I was seeing real things, not my brain breaking.
There's so many things that are obviously unexplainable. We didn't even touch on, our time in Africa and some of the things we experienced.
Yeah,
there,
we definitely have to, have you back on for that for sure.
And so, but I dig when the conversation always turns to Bigfoot because that's one of my favorite subjects as far as all this. I just wanted
to get your thoughts on Joe Rogan's and his thoughts on what he believes Bigfoot is or isn't.
Yeah, I don't think his arguments were too strong. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
Not too strong. Again, I don't buy the bear thing. I don't buy the whole just because your senses are heightened. But again, I'm not somebody who has to have somebody else believe me.
Yes, and also he hasn't been in the woods hunting for this particular entity.
But he has been to Rio Linda.
Yes.
Wow. I don't think our listeners in England nor in China or Europe would know what that means, Kyler. Just FYI.
It's okay. The people who know, they'll know. That's what it is. The people who need to know, they'll know.
Was it Rush Limbaugh who always said that about reeling?
It might have been.
At least, Rush was out of Sacramento too.
Yeah, maybe one day I'll see one, but it's doesn't matter to me. Like I said, I'm not out looking for these things.
It's better to see that than the SW. I promise you that. It's probably better that way.
All right. Well, on that note, this has been a great show. Ed, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And we definitely have to.
I feel like I left a lot out, though.
Oh no, you'll be back.
So we'll have a part 3.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
You have to have a part 2 first, Kyler.
Well, it's all Bob. That's because I believe in you. We got a part 3 on the way.
Yeah, my man. That's my man.
Like you said, you got to get into that.
That's my man right there.
The rest of the howlers. Yeah, man. You got all of it. The howlers, the Wendigo. There's a few different things,
Wendigo.
Ooh, the Wendigo. I did some, you guys check out my Native American folklore.
Well, I'll have to ask Jen if I'm allowed to talk about that one.
Oh.
If that's my wife, I'm allowed to talk about the Wendigo.
Then tell her I apologize ahead of time then for bringing it up so you don't get in trouble.
But yeah, so again, thanks for joining us on tonight's show. And any last words, Ed?
No, I appreciate it. Hopefully, I feel like I left so much out.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. We'll cover it. It's we'll cover it. So yeah, leave them wanting more. That's always the thing. This is the bonus episode of Strange Darkness Radio. We're out.
We've had a fantastic time on tonight's bonus episode of Strange Darkness Radio, and we appreciate you joining us. If you have your own strange and eerie experiences to share on our show, please reach out to us via email at strangedarknessradio@gmail.com or by calling our hotline at 916-741-3032. We're eagerly awaiting your stories. Please leave a review and subscribe. Join us at the Hotel Paranormal. Until next time.